having Pratyusha from Boond, and she is a sustainability menstrual educator, and she works for Boond Cups. And Boond Cups is an organization located in Bangalore, and they are very active in menstrual education and activism related to that, especially about sustainable menstrual education and all that.
There's been a lot of myths, lot of doubts, and lot of crazy questions that everyone gets. So the first one, by one of the teammates we have here is, so this is a question, this is how it goes. So we all know menstrual cups are extremely sustainable, but how do you debunk the stigmas around using one?
I think it starts with using it and then talking to your own circle about it. Because no matter how much we as menstrual educators and menstrual cup marketers talk about the product, it is end of the day not mainstream enough to be on TV as an ad, right? So what it has to begin at the level where I try a cup and then I talk to a few friends about it, and hopefully they are encouraged to try the cup as well. And also, a huge part of the stigma comes from our parental upbringing, right? Like the concept of any sort of penetration into our vagina is considered offensive, right? It's considered a sin. So, so when that's the case, a huge part of uh, dealing with the stigma is also being patient with our parents and realizing that they are coming with generations and generations of conditioning. That doesn't stop, because at the end of the day, your menstrual product is your choice and yours alone. But it is important for us to not latch out at them and say, we're all living in the 60th, in the 60s, so much since, and just, yelling at them. It's not going to get us anywhere. We have to all grow together. That even the ads that we see are purely digital. We don't see mainline advertising. By that I mean TV and newspaper advertising, because it is still very challenging. Like tampons just made it to mainstream advertising, and that is also a disposable. So at the end of the day, all mainline advertising is selling disposables, and then to hope that sustainables will come into the picture is a long time thing, right? Um, and then finally, another thing that stops people from making the switch is just the fact that it's so unfamiliar. The first pad ever made is still on the planet, has not decomposed, because it takes 500 to 800 years for a single pad to decompose. So our waste crisis does not end at a mass consumption and mass adoption of sustainable options. At the end of the day, we still have to figure out a way to manage all the waste that we have already generated, and many of us continue. So while like a few, like Booth has reduced 1,000 tons of waste from ending up in landfills, but that doesn't mean that the landfills are empty of waste.
So again, the next question we have here is, menstrual cups are made of medical grade silicone, and the shell life is about 5 years. How green will the disposal process be?
The shelf life is 10 years. I would
Okay.
just like to correct that. At least the shelf life of the Booth cup is 10 years, and there are a few that say it's 4 years, 5 years, but of course it's brand to brand. But with the Booth cup, it is 10 years, and it is made of medical grade silicone correctly. But for now, and silicone is a recyclable material as such. But the issue is that it needs to be recycled in really big quantities and of the exact same material. So I would have to recycle, I mean, remold basically uh, tens of thousands of this exact Booth fuchsia cup uh, for it to be able to process. So that's something we don't have the infrastructure for at this stage. So the best way to dispose it is to burn it off, and it becomes this powder that you can just throw away in your dry waste. And it's like this much waste versus God
Um,
even knows how much. So the first thing you need to do, not just know, is to want to switch. You should want to, feel positively about it and feel like, okay, this is something that I'm consciously making a choice to manage my menstruation. Uh, and once that sets in, then there are a few things to keep in mind actually about who shouldn't use the cup. So I think this is a good point for me to just bring that aspect in. The first group of people that shouldn't use the cup are people who are postpartum bleeders, which are basically people who are bleeding post delivery. Now, this is like a lengthened period of time where they bleed consistently, and the vagina is too tender and the pelvic muscles are too weak to be able to sustain the vacuum seal that the vagina forms, sorry, the cup forms on the vaginal wall. So, for that reason, postpartum bleeders should refrain from using the cup. Secondly, people who have silicone allergies. Now, how do you know if you have a silicone allergy? It's very rare, and unless you experience burning, itching, pain, irritation, swelling, they can be indicators. And the moment you take off the cup, if those symptoms go away, then that could be an indication that you are allergic to silicone. But again, these cases are rare. And thirdly, if you have a vaginal or a bacterial infection of any kind, then choose not to use the cup for the duration of the infection until it has been treated completely, and then you can reuse the cup as usual. Uh, so, those are a few things to keep in mind about who should not use the cup. Uh, but besides that, I think knowing that knowing the process of using the cup, knowing somebody who uses the cup is a massive, massive factor in being able to use it confidently because you have someone to talk to. So at this point, I would just like to state that in case you don't know anybody in your network who can help you with how to use the cup and whatever you're struggling with, please reach out to Booth Cups on our Instagram. And we are very happy to help you clarify your queries and sort of walk you through the process if you need it.
just another question that I had. Are there any sort of age restrictions that come along with, the usage of uh, menstrual cups? Like,
No, there are no age-related restrictions as long as you want to, and as long as you 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 menstruate, for the lack of a better word. As long as you want to, and as long as you menstruate, you can use the cup. Now, coming to what to keep in mind when trying the cup. The first thing you need to keep in mind is to maintain a firm grip on your fold. So you fold the cup a couple of ways in which to help wear the cup. ठीक है? So one is called the C fold, in which you flatten it and then you sort of make a C out of it. Okay, uh, and then you use this end to sort of guide the cup in. Now, if you don't hold this firmly, it's going to open up midway. And what that's going to do is A, cause discomfort, and B, you'll have to remove it and retry again. So it's very, very important to hold the cup firmly.
yeah.
So the first thing to keep in mind is a firm grip on the cup. So when you put it to the C fold, right?
Yeah.
And wait a second. Yeah. So this is what the C fold looks like, and like you can see, and you use this end to sort of guide it into the vagina. Okay. So if you don't maintain a firm grip, like I just released my grip a little bit and it opened up. So if it doesn't go all the way in, then you'll have to remove it and then try again and all of that. So maintain a firm grip. A. B. Once you sterilize the cup, ensure that you're not placing it on any other surface. In the sense that you sterilize the cup, don't put it on the wash basin while you remove your pant, for example. So because otherwise the whole point of sterilization is lost. And finally, the last thing that is very important is to keep yourself relaxed and to breathe deeply. Because if you don't do that, then you are sending stress indicators, stress stimuli to your brain, and your brain is sort of going into this crisis mode. And what that does is tightens all your muscles, which includes the vaginal muscles, because the vagina is a muscular structure. So it's very important to maintain a steady, deep breathing rhythm, because that's going to ease your insertion process a lot. So you sterilize the cup at the start of the cycle. There you don't need to really store it because you're directly going to wear it. But you also have to sterilize the cup at the end of the cycle. So either on like the 5th day, the 7th day, 10th day, however long your cycle lasts. And once you're done bleeding basically, and you have to put it away till your next cycle, you sterilize it. And ideally, I recommend like a pouch like this, like a cotton pouch, because it's breathable, right? So in a box, humidity can sort of get trapped if it's a humid environment. So because a pouch is breathable, the cup tends to like, be more dry and like normal when in a pouch. And also it's important to keep the pouch clean, because while you're putting a sterilized cup in a dirty pouch, it sort of completely beats the point. So again, to wash your pouch at least once, like during your cycle, just sometime, and sun dry it so that it is clean enough to put your cup in. For all these three processes, for bleeding, for peeing, and for defecating. So the defecation happens through the anus, the bleeding happens through the urethra, and placed between both of these is your vagina, through which you bleed. So when you wear the cup in your vagina, you do not need to remove the cup to pee or poop. I know people who have done diving with the cup, who've gone hiking, who've done swimming, yoga, gymming, a lot of these things without any sort of discomfort, because once you wear the cup, you really don't feel it inside you. It's that comfortable that you forget you're on your period if you don't have cramps. So you don't have to do that. Yeah.
Okay, so generally there are a few advantages of using a menstrual cup, right? So could you list down a few advantages of, using a menstrual cup?
Yeah. So the first thing, it's very economical because it's a 700. So the Booth cup, for example, is a 700 rupee cup, and it's usable for 10 years. That comes to 70 rupees a year, which comes to about 6 rupees a month, which is so cheap compared to all the other options out there, whether it's pads, whether it's tampons, whether it's cloth pads even. It's much more, it's the most economical option out there, undoubtedly. The second thing is that it's very safe because it's made of an inert material, inert as in non-reactive. So it's not reactive to your body, nor is your body reactive to it. So when you wear the cup, there is no sort of chemical exchange happening with between your body and this, and the alteration of pH is not happening, which is what happens when you wear a disposable pad. And also, because the blood is being collected inside, it is not being exposed to air. Now, when we use a disposable pad, the blood, of course, is being collected outside the body. Hence, we experience a certain odor, right? And we call it bad smell because we think the blood smells, but it's actually the oxidization of the blood that smells. So the chemical exchange that is happening there is the problem. And the second thing that I think is a very important benefit of the cup is the fact that it gives you agency over the cleanliness of your product. It's not like somebody is selling you a product and telling you, hey, this is clean, you should use this. You are the only one in control of how clean your product is. And I think that's a very important aspect of how we experience anything related to our bodies, right? We are taught that everybody else makes decisions for us, whether it's education, whether it's marriage, whether it's college, whether it's menstruation, it's a lot of these things that decisions are made for menstruators. So to say that no, I have control over how clean my product is, I think is a huge plus. Besides that, of course, the environmental damage that happens is much lower. So, okay, so I will break this down into three categories, okay? The first is health. It's great for your body because there is no chemical exchange happening, like I said. There is no alteration of your natural pH. And there are no like drying ingredients that they use in pads, right? To give you that dry feeling. So that problem does not exist. There are no rashes, no irritation, none of these things. And finally, secondly, it's for the environment, of course. It's great because you're not whatever blood you collect is biodegradable waste. Some people choose to use it as fertilizer. We curate an art exhibition called the Crimson Wave, in which we have got submissions of people making art with their menstrual blood. It's amazing how people claim their menstrual blood in a, it's the opposite of shame, and it's beautiful. So in that sense, it's great for the environment, because pads tend to clog drains. Because if and for any of the people listening, if you flush your pad down a toilet, please do not do it. They swell up several times their size and clog drains and cause floods. It has happened in Oshiwara in Mumbai. So please ensure that you wrap it up in a newspaper. Ideally, put a red sticker or a red mark on it, and then dispose it in a dustbin. Um, so that is a cost, right? It's not just the landfill; it's also the fact that flooding is happening because of pads. The third aspect is community. Now, this is something that is very often ignored because we don't consider the journey of the pad after um after the disposal in the dustbin, right? But there are sanitation workers who have to clean up that dirt, clean up the waste, and they are already dignified of any safety, any dignity in their labor, right? They have no safety hazard protection gear. They don't have rights in terms of accessing healthcare if something should happen. No insurances, all of these things. So we are also unwittingly contributing to a system that is already oppressive towards people that have to manage this waste. And for that reason, I think menstrual cups are a great option, because the menstrual hygiene is also environmental hygiene and community hygiene, right? It's on some level. So I think it's a much more holistic option than other products. Yes, sizing is something that I wanted to get into later on anyway. But so I have like a model of a uterus, like the female reproductive system here. Okay?
Yeah.
And so this is the uterus. This pear-shaped part is the uterus, and
Yeah.
it bleeds through this
Yeah.
narrow opening. This is the cervix. Okay, this surface is the cervix, and this is the vaginal canal. This is the vaginal opening. So the blood flows through the cervix into the vaginal canal and out of the vaginal opening. Now the cup sits between the vaginal opening and the cervix. Okay, and that's where it sort of directly collects the blood. Now, what most organizations talk about is the fact that you measure your cervix ka position and buy the cup accordingly. But with that, the issue is that they don't disclose the fact that the position of the cervix is variable. At different points in a person's lifetime, the cervix is at different positions. For my own example, I had a high cervix. Now I have a low cervix, so I have to use a shorter cup. So as long as you don't have a very low cervix, which is what, when you put a finger inside and more than 2.5 knuckles are not able to go in, then you have a low cervix. And in that case, you should look for a shorter cup. Or if you don't want to use a cup in that case, then feel free to use cloth pads. They are also a sustainable option. They're also economical. They're reusable for 5 years. So that is definitely an option I encourage you to consider. But yes, I would like to demonstrate how you use the cup, how you wear the cup, and how you remove the cup. So the first thing that you do is sterilize the cup. Like I said, pot of boiling water, 5 to 10 minutes, hands washed with soap and water. Remove the cup from the boiling pot. Ensure that you don't put it on any other surface. Now you're ready to use the cup. So there are two folds, two most common folds. The first is the C fold, which I had demonstrated earlier. So this is the C fold, and another is called the punch down fold, where any point on the rim you press to the base of the cup and it becomes sort of this narrow mouthed fold, right? And you use this tip to guide it into the vagina. Now, we're for this example going to use my forefinger and my thumb as my vagina for this demonstration. Okay, so now I have folded the cup. Okay, and how do I wear it? Is I slowly in side to side motions slide it in. Now this point is sort of marks the end of the rim, and once the entire rim is in, you can release your grip. Okay, so you gently slide it in. Okay, and it goes all the way in here, and now you're like you can see a little bit of your thumb and your forefinger are inside. Okay, and you let go and the cup opens up. Now, so with the C fold, I can demonstrate the same thing again. Is you gently sort of slide the cup in and you let go and the cup opens up. Now, how do you know you're wearing the cup correctly? No part of the cup is outside. Okay, it goes all the way in. There is nothing projecting out. So if you have a long stem cup, then cut the stem to the length that you desire, so that nothing is protruding. Okay. Now there are a few times that your cup will not open. Okay. Like say for example here, I have worn the cup and it has not yet opened. So how do I open the cup? I can pinch the bottom. Okay, like pinch, release, and what that will do is slightly release the air that is like release air into the cup, and it will open up. Another thing that you can do is to rotate the cup inside you. So you pinch the base of the cup, okay, and you try to rotate it, and when you let go, it opens up. So those are a couple of things you can do. The squatting position is the best position to do this in because your legs are the widest apart, so it's easiest to access your vagina. So that is how you wear the cup. Now it's been 6 hours, 8 hours, 10 hours based on your flow, which again will take 3 cycles to figure out how long you need to keep the cup inserted before you remove it. So once that's done, once you feel like okay, it's been 6 hours, I want to empty the cup, then how do you empty the cup? Now the cup is inside, it has collected blood, and what I'm going to do is look for the stem, reach for the stem of the cup, okay, and then pinch them, hold them with my forefinger and my thumb, and then pinch it, and side to side motions, just slightly drag it down. Then again pinch it, and side to side motions, drag it down. Pinch it, side to side motions, drag it down. And then now enough of the cup is out for you to just press the cup, right? And here you're breaking the seal then. Okay, and you pull it out, it sort of goes into a reverse C fold. And you remove it, and you empty it, you rinse it with water, and you rewear it. So that is essentially how you go about wearing the cup. I am glad and I hope that some of you who join would consider using a cup or at least recommending it to somebody you know who would be willing to use it. And yeah, I just wish all of you well, and I wish you a happy period and a positive attitude towards periods.